Hello and welcome back to Gen Ed. This is your general education channel in YouTube. Now we will talk on top subject of social studies and cultural studies, and with the topic of harvest moon rituals. We will talk about what is harvest moon. It's harvest moon and its rituals and other cultural rituals during this moon harvest moon. With the content is significant of studies, research questions, review related literatures, which include the Harvest Moon, Maybon, and Mid-Autumn Festival. We got a methodology using the Venn diagram to see comparison, similarities, and the contrast between these three, and then we do some small analysis, few definition of terms, and final conclusion. Significance of the studies. This research is aimed to share other cultures, traditions, and practice during the harvest moon. First is identify the harvest moon, then the rituals during the month. Using Venn diagram, we will see the similarities and contrasts on the cultures. Research question, tell us about the harvest moon. What are the ritual and celebration? Tell us the similarities and contrasts of each of the rituals. Harvest moon is also called Barley's moon, Hunter's moon. It says so Barley's moon is the sign of Virgo. The Virgin carries a barley and grain. It is great time for realization, for desire and goals. The energies of harvest moon will help along magic, and it's geared it to bring you someone's abundance. And it's also celebrated on every September's full moon. And as you see in my previous moon video, you'll see September's harvest moon. Now it's also celebrated as Esbat from witches. Witches, Wiccans, it's celebrated as Esbat. And it's a full moon celebration. The full moon of September is harvest moon. The moon is called harvest moon. Sometimes it's called Barley's moon or Hunter's moon. Depends on what region it's called. Now, the Native American celebrate harvest moon as harvest festival were maintained in Native American tradition in Arizona and Mexico. It's a thanksgiving to the Great Spirit and nature for crops and life celebrated in homes and powwows. Celebrate as they offer corn, they said. Now, it's also, they said, in the Native American, it's sometimes celebrated in August, September to October, when the corn is at their height. Gather with their offerings, with gathering acorn, beans, blueberries, and corn, and others. They observe fasting, cleansing, praying, building sacred fire, as they say. Harvesting corn contain a female spirit, as they call the first woman the Great Spirit, as they thank it. They also celebrate powwow, dances, singing, drumming, drawing circles, drumming, as for thanking the life and good shelter. Also in Tibet, they call it the bumper harvest, Ongkor. Originated 1,000 years ago, they have an activities, horse racing, archery contests, songs, and dances. Now, in Maybon itself, this is a weekend celebration, witch celebration, celebrated September 21st. So it's Maybon, so it's also corn. It's also called the harvest home. It is said that end of agriculture year as crops had been gathered. Celebration is a thank for all blessing and achievements. This is celebrated for which and we can celebrate it Maybon of September. It is said that the Lord beginning preparing for his death at Samhain, the lady is beginning to mourn of his the loss. This is the Maybon. Maybon is also called the third harvest, the final harvest. It's also giving thanks for the months of harvesting. Now it's time to rest. How the weekends will said, the witches will said. Now we'll talk about the Mid-Autumn Festival. Mid-Autumn Festival is a Chinese tradition which is also known as Mooncake Festival. Now the history is I already said about the lore itself. It's about the guy who shoot arrows, the nine sons. It also have a love story itself and a celebration. So from the Asian part, most of the Asians celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's a uh, mooncake celebration. Now the methodology research will use Venn diagram to find out the similarities and contrasts of harvest moon rituals. As the Venn diagram was created by mathematician and logician John Venn in 1862. Venn diagram is intersecting two circles as A pi B is the intersection of the circle A and B. A pi B is also the intersect circles of A, B, C, D, as you seen in figure 1. Using this method, we will see the similarity and contrast of harvest moon rituals on Circle A, the Native Americans, Circle B, the Tibet, Circle C, Maybon, Circle D, the Chinese Mid-Autumn Festivals. You'll see this in figure 2. This is figure 1. This is a Venn diagram. Circle A, Circle B, Circle C, Circle D, and A pi B is the intersection of all 4 circles. Now we'll see here, Circle A is a Native American. So they have a different lore, they have a different rituals, but the dance is similarity. The Tibetan dance it's also said in the art in the papers on what I read. The dance is a bit similar, but the rituals has different rituals itself. Now, if you see native circle A, circle B, circle C, the Maybon, and the circle D has have a similarities, which is the harvest. It's called the harvest festival. It's also a celebration on this Thanksgiving and celebrating on the moon. Now, as I said, the Native Americans and the Tibetans had dance on this celebration. A similarity of dance, but the rituals is different. So, while the Native American has different lores, respectively on their own tribe. Now, on the Maybon to the Native Americans, the corn offering. Well, in Maybon there are many offerings. They said some will use cakes, but the corn is one of the significant one. As on the book said, they offering corn. Now, the rituals, the lore are different, but in Maybon they said all the forgiving as a forgiving rituals, or it's a moral meditation. See in the circle D, it's more on the independent. They have similarities with the all three, which is the harvest, celebration, Thanksgiving, and the moon. The lore is very different. The rituals of the it's also different, and they have a special so a moon cake festival, which they gave a cake, Chinese cake, which is signify the moon day. And then the lore has been different, also very different on those. So as we see, only four is very similar, but the lore itself is different. Different lores, different history of it. The rituals is also different on each. But what they are celebrating is the harvest moon. Even if it's the harvest moon, they have different stories. They have different analogies of the stories. All are inspiring stories, you see. More creation stories, how it creates. Now, definition of term, what is a powwow? A celebration of American Indian culture in which people are diverse indigenous nation gathered for a purpose of dancing, singing, and honoring the tradition of their ancestors. Derived from the curling ritual originated in one of the Algonquin nations of the Northeast Indians. Wicca is the name of the religion and the practitioners of a contemporary witchcraft. What's Espa? A regular meeting of a coven of witches at which religious worship is conducted can or may be indoors or outdoors. Esbat has been coined by anthropologist Margaret Murray. Now the conclusion, as you see, Native American, Mabon, Tibet, and the Chinese Mid-Autumn Fest has a common which thanking, celebrating the moon and celebrating on the harvest itself. The Tibet and the Native Americans has a similar on celebrating using the dance as the Native American and the Mabon. Celebrating is offering the corn. They have different lores. All four has different lores and stories. Also, they have different rituals and celebration. Mabon celebrate mostly December 21st. Also, the Mid-Autumn Festival celebrate by eating mooncake. That's the most only difference and uh the only thing which is different from the Mabon. We see it celebrate on September 21st, but also celebrated harvest. Even it depends on the moon, but it's also celebrating the harvest ritual. The third harvest they call it. Mid-Autumn Festival mostly is in the East Asia. They said celebrating a mooncake. Now this is the reference I use, and I hope you enjoy the report today. See you next time. Have a great study, great life ahead. Thank you. Have a great day.